Welcome to the In My Opinion Show with host Ronald Barrington Robinson and friends. Seen on the internet, via YouTube, enter in capital letters RBR IMO to watch our exciting programming. Subscriptions are free. The In My Opinion Show is seen on Flint, Michigan, Comcast Cable Television, Channel 17, every Saturday at 6 p.m. and every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. The In My Opinion Show is also seen on Detroit, Michigan, Comcast Cable Television, Channel 68, every Sunday at 9 p.m. We want to welcome our worldwide viewers. We hope that you will enjoy our programs that are newsworthy, educational, political, and entertaining. If you'd like to be a guest on this exciting program or have different opinions on our subject matter, please email our producer, inmyopinionrbr@att.net. I want to welcome our worldwide audience, and I especially want to welcome my very talented co-host, Mrs. Denise Smith Allen.
Hi, Ron.
Hi. Mr. Henry Hatter.
Hi, Ron and Denise. Tell those kids whose open houses you're going to today, we in the In My Opinion Show wish them well.
I will tell them.
All right. Ask and you will receive. Mega church pastor Creflo Dollar of Georgia asked his congregation for $65 million so that he can fly around the world to reach more parishioners. Who in their right mind would consent to that? When many of his flock can hardly pay bills, buy food, have no health care, no jobs, mostly single mothers, this is abomination. A little history of this mortal man. He has been arrested for attacking his 15-year-old daughter, has been divorced, accused of stealing, fraud. His empire is being investigated for violations of tax-exempt status. In my opinion, Pastor Creflo Dollar is just another pimp in black and multicolored robes like many other church leaders, fleecing the vulnerable, the naive, the superstitious, the poor. He is a scam artist of the highest degree, and he is not alone. Like others preach, the more money you give their organizations, the more you will receive God's favor. How in the hell are you going to make your ends meet if you're giving it to those wolves in sheep's clothing? Jesus had a donkey, and he has reached the masses. You got it twisted, Creflo Dollar. You're a scam artist, and you, along with many other church leaders, are going straight to hell. Mr. Hatter, what's your opinion?
Ron, this is difficult for me to talk about because there are many pastors around the world and around our communities who serve the interest of people who really need it. Not all people are as excoriating as Dr. Dollar is, as you call him. But I think, like you say, it's an abomination for people to steal from the poor or from those who are unfortunate or those who can't think for themselves. I think there should be a law against a person who extracts these kind of dollars from the poor people. As a matter of fact, this church should lose this 501c3 status for stealing from the public. And there are many pastors out there who would agree with me that all churches are not on the right road. And so I agree with you, sir.
Well, not all pastors are in the same league with Pastor Creflo Dollar, but there's more than should be, I think, especially with the situations that are going on in their very neighborhoods. All right, Denise, what is your thoughts?
Well, I have a couple of thoughts about this. For one thing, if a congregation who is sitting under a minister has not vetted that minister, and by that I mean really examined that individual they're sitting under as best they can, okay? And that would mean, listening not only to what they say, but watching what they do to see if this person is aligned with the ministry that they espouse. Having said that, I'm thinking that an ask was given and not a demand. And there's a difference. When you ask somebody, the person can either say yes or they can say no. Okay? So if you're in a situation whereas a minister has made a request to give X amount of dollars because they're trying to do something, you have to examine that and say, okay, does this make sense? Now, on face value and what we've gotten from the media, it certainly doesn't make sense that they would ask a congregation to provide that kind of money for an airplane. But at the same token, what is the reason for the need for that airplane? And that should be examined again by that congregation. Because like I said, we're sitting on the outside and we don't know all of the facts. And certainly I am not excusing anybody who is trying to, as you say, pimp the congregation. I'm not excusing that. All I'm saying is that we need to have more information. It could be, we don't know, that he could be using this jet, airplane, whatever, to go and feed the masses or do something in the ministry. We don't know that. But if that's not the case, then again I say, those persons that are sitting there under the tutelage of this pastor has to examine their own thoughts, their own mind about what am I doing here? Why am I sitting under someone who is taking advantage of me? Okay? And so that's the thought, and we understand that everybody is not on the same page as far as their spiritual growth, their spirituality, and what have you. But the book that I read, it tells it clearly that you're supposed to study to show yourself approved, to understand what you're reading. You just cannot take what someone tells you. You have to understand it for yourself. And if you're not being taught correctly, then there's the problem. Therein lies the problem. So, like I said, I have a couple of thoughts about that, but essentially what I say is that you can ask a person for anything, but essentially that person has a right to say yes or no.
Denise, in a real and perfect world, you're exactly right. But we don't live in a real and perfect world. We live in a very imperfect world.
Absolutely.
Where the strongest and the boldest and the benefit of, and those who think that they should benefit by all of things that life has to give, who take advantage of those who can't think for themselves, who can't fend for themselves. And I believe that we need to make some judgments. We should not say, well, it's okay because we don't know this and we don't know that. But stop and think about what these people are doing. They're extracting money from the poor and then leaving these people to the government to take care of, so that your dollars and my dollars provide for those individuals.
Extracting with their permission.
But with or without the
with
permission,
their permission.
these
No,
people
no.
fall back on government, and government takes them welfare, my child, all of those things. They should be protecting their own families.
That's what they should be doing. And
Thank
so
you.
therefore, I'm saying to you,
I made my point.
you made your point, but I'm still making my point, that without someone's permission,
Okay.
without someone's permission, there's no way that you should be giving your money. There are churches on every corner, just about every corner. So if the people who are in that congregation were asked to give money and they felt compelled not to do it, they have a choice. Either they continue to go and not give, or they leave and go somewhere else where they feel as though they can, get a word and feel compelled to be a part of that particular congregation.
I'm thinking about all of those kids and those families where people give their last dollar to a preacher to fly around the world or to look big next to God or whatever. And they go to school and characterized as underfoot, undereducated, undernourished, and with no platform for the future. Those are the people that we need to tender, not the rich necessarily.
And also, too, we've all probably seen these reality shows on TV. All right? I'll use this since we're talking about Creflo Dollar. The pastors of Detroit, the pastors of LA, and others would show with showcasing all their opulence, such as mega churches, homes, cars, jewelry, boats, clothes, vacations to paradise destinations that most of us can only dream about. Is this the way to promote religion? In every one of their shows, they brag that this is what God wants them to have. After all, the majority of these pastors' congregations are poor and trying to make ends meet. This is disingenuous, to say the least. All right.
It is.
What
It is.
message is this sending out? All right. Everybody can't be rich.
I
You know what I
agree
mean?
with you. I agree. Any pastor or anybody, I mean, you talking about these pastor shows, but any of these reality shows, in my opinion, they have sold their soul to the devil, as
Sure.
far as I'm concerned. There's no way that they're going to engage people in thinking seriously about their own spirituality watching that nonsense, because that's what it is. It's nonsense. And for them to have signed on to doing something like that, you can see clearly that financial reasons were the motivating factor. So anybody that sits under people who are like that, then again, you feel badly for them. You feel badly because sometimes they do it out of tradition, sometimes they do it out of ignorance. But once the light is shined on them and they continue to support that, shame on them. You know what I'm saying? First time around, shame on the individual who do that. But the second time around, shame on me if I continue to sit up under somebody that puts themselves out there like that.
Well, don't you think that that they want to feel, they want to be included,
Accepted.
all right, accepted at that church.
Going to
all
hell.
right. So then, if they're under that kind of a leadership, what I mean, more or less, in my opinion, these pastors program many of them, a lot of their parishioners. All right. Whether they like this Creflo Dollar, whether he asks or requests. Well, either way. It's still begging from the poor, all right, or the ones that can ill afford.
I say to you, he can beg, she can pay, whoever, they can beg, but it's still up to those individuals to know whether this is something that is of God. And the only way you're going to know that, number one, is you got to study, you got to read, you got to ask for revelation about that, and then is it making sense?
Well, these pastors are always invoking God and Jesus and religion.
They
you know
do
what I mean?
that because a lot of people do not take the time to study, to read, to understand. And then we have those who may not have the wherewithal to read, to understand. But they need to be under people who are sincere. And sometimes they don't learn about that until they have been taken advantage of. But once you learn better, you do better. And I'm telling you, even those persons who may not have the ability to read and write the English language the way some others do, there is still something that is instilled in all of us that gives us the sense of what is right and what is wrong. Okay?
Denise, I tender what you're saying, but those are not, those must be belief systems, not rights. People have to believe this, and a lot of people don't believe the same as other people do.
That's true.
And as a result, and I see the government itself, the government has awesome authority to prevent this, but it doesn't. Why doesn't the government try to prevent these abuses to people who are subject to these kind of conditions? Because they know that pastors are the leaders of segments of the communities. And they can influence whole communities by going to a pastor. So they do bend over backwards to accommodate pastors. But I believe that their 501c3 license should be taken, and they should be forced to pay taxes.
Absolutely.
If they do that. There should be a tribunal of people who really believe in religion and the value that it has for human beings and for the nation to meet and decide some form of resolution for those who abuse these kind of and take advantage of human beings because it's they have an opportunity.
Well, as you say,
And the government needs to step up to that, but it won't, because pastors rule our part of the society.
No, I don't agree with that at all. I
Who-
don't agree with that. Yes,
No, you
yes.
don't have to agree with it,
No.
but they believe it.
Oh, I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. But what I'm saying to you is that, yes, it's true that we have churches just about on every single corner. Okay, and it's true that we have some people who are gullible and believes wholeheartedly with the person who is over them until they have this awakening, if you will, this understanding that is brought about by consistently looking at their belief system.
Why not? Why would you not?
Look at your belief system and study your belief system. There's probably some holes in it somewhere, but you have to look at it and examine it. Okay? But if you choose not to do that, if you're following blindly behind somebody, then you're going to get what you get. And that's the sad thing. That is really a sad commentary, but that is what our reality is in America.
If we
Okay?
could take away the 501c3 status from those people who abuse other people in these circumstances, things would change. But nothing will change the way it is.
Exactly.
Well, I would think at this point that you had mentioned, Ron, that the man has been arrested and he's been under investigation and what have you. So if these things bear out, that the investigation proves that he has done something that is illegal, just like the other pastor who was caught up in some other mess with his congregation and the boys and all of that. Eventually, the truth is going to come forth. And when it comes forth, there are laws. And those laws are going to protect those individuals. But until that happens, like I said, we have to expose it, put it out there, and then those persons who are sitting up under those people have to make a conscious decision whether they're going to continue to be up under that person or leave. They're not being forced to stay. They're not being forced to stay. Those doors are not locked when people come into a church house for them to be locked in. You understand what I'm saying? So that's where I'm at with this, because like I said, we have ministers, we have politicians, we have each and every segment of our society that have people who are in it for the right reason and for those that are in it because of monetary gain. And those that are in it for the monetary gain, eventually the covers are pulled off.
I wish the covers would hurry up and get pulled off because this stuff has been going on forever. You know what I mean? Forever. And anytime you can generate $65 million and
He's asking,
and
he
you got
hasn't
a
generated it.
501c exclusion from paying taxes, something's wrong with that. All right.
Okay.
Whether it's $65 million or $1 million, you know what I mean? They should not get away with that. All right. And I think they've taken religion, too far. In many ways, yes.
Ron, all of that $65,000 would not be coming from $65 million would not be coming from poor blacks. It would be coming from whites, from institutions and stuff like that. But still, it's extracting money out of the coffers that would benefit poor people
Of
and
course.
lay them on the government. And that's not what we want. We want our new generation of African Americans, if you want to call them that, or Black Americans, to stand on some principles, to fend for themselves, to believe in themselves, to provide for themselves, and challenge the environment that they live in, as all cultures do. But you leave them on an indeterminate platform where they have no standards. You wanna surround them by standards of beliefs that they can depend on, that they will carry them forward to a new generation and leave the old generation behind us in a dependency of hope, or welfare, or living without, and stuff like that, because that's how we look at things today, most of us, except people like yourself who are rich and who see the life from a different perspective.
What did you just say?
So we need our young people to look ahead to be able to live in a country where they will live all of their lives in a highly competitive situation where they can defend themselves.
Exactly. And stop letting these preachers think that they're entitled.
I'm still taken aback by that comment he made about people sitting here rich. I mean, where are they? Where are they? We're not part of that 1%. I'm not part of that.
I certainly am not.
Okay, so I don't know what you're
Mr.
talking
Mott talked the same business. That's what he said. I'm not rich.
Yeah, well, he was wealthy. There's a
Yeah.
difference. There's a difference. Okay. So, but this is an interesting topic, and like I said, it's probably an emotionally charged topic because of the kind of leadership that we've seen coming out of the churches, and because the lights are being shined on individuals who are doing some things that are not the norm. Okay, when you're asking a congregation to expend this kind of money, $65 million, that we know is just not fathomable for most people who are going inside of a church. They're just not, it's not. So like I said, there's probably more to this story, but we got the sound bite. Okay, but if this guy is doing something that is unscrupulous, the government is going to step in. I can tell you that. The law is going to step in and justice will be served.
Well, I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah.
And sooner the better.
Okay.
Because this is rampant around the country, probably around the world. Okay, and it's rampant right here in this city where we produce our shows from, Flint, Michigan. Okay.
I don't see the government as stepping in right away because they're still intimidated by racism. They won't touch it because our country is in such a quandary right now. It's embarrassed by its past actions and so on and so forth. So this is like to be on the back burner for a long time, and it should rise to a position of immediate response. Did you know that Did you read the article about how many Black Americans no longer look at religion as a viable option for a lifestyle?
No, I haven't read that.
Yes,
article. Tell me about it.
Yeah, there's an article. I'll try to get it for you.
Okay.
Well, not only African Americans, but
Yeah.
in the whole, all different,
Yes.
all different ethnic groups. Okay.
But I read this on African Americans, which was kind of now we've been really kind of a bulwark of Christianity in the United States, unshakable, even better than all other cultural groups.
Right.
We've been very steadfast, but we're losing it.
Yes.
We're losing it because of things like Creflo Dollar and stuff like that, and the attitudes.
Okay.
And when we turn our backs on the new population to create a pathway for them to achieve goals that they set for themselves.
Well, the biggest thing, as we're discussing it, there's a big difference between religion and spirituality. Okay, and so there's the rub right there, because a lot of people may not deal with traditional religious belief systems, but I would dare to say that there are less atheists. I don't want to think at this point that people have just devoid themselves of believing that there is a God. Okay, and they may not go to a church, they may not read the Bible or the Quran or whatever, but I'm not of the opinion at this point that people have just devoid themselves or divorced themselves from believing that there is a spirit within inside them, because everybody has one. And sometimes it's dormant, but it's there.
Well, you may have a spirit, but not necessarily you have to equate that with religion.
I'm
You know
not.
what I mean? Or
I
God,
said spirituality.
or Jesus, or even spirituality for that matter. Those are man-made, words. Okay, where does this come from? All right. I mean, the Bible has been rewritten, and I've mentioned this on this show. I don't know how many times the Bible has been rewritten. Who knows how many times? Okay. So what influences whoever initiated the rewrite had on the writers in regards to the rewrite? Okay. So I mean, I'm not an atheist, but I don't believe like a lot of people believe in terms of religion. I just have to state that. Okay. And
You have that right.
I just don't, I just don't see it. I don't think that so many people hold these preachers in esteem. You know what I mean? Oh, this is Pastor so and so. You know what I mean? And you can't be yourself anymore. All right, because we've been taught to respect pastors and ministers and so forth just because they have that title. I don't. I'm sorry, I don't. Okay.
And
It's just another title.
that's okay. To me, it's the same as it would be if you had a congressperson or if you had the president. Titles mean nothing.
Exactly.
It's the individual and their character. That's what you need to look at. Okay? And everyone, like I said, I still go back to the premise that we all have a spirit inside of us, whether it's dormant or it's active. There's a spirit inside of us that is activated through expression of your own spirituality. Now, some people do not conform to a religious organization or espouse Christianity or Islam or any of the other organizations, organized religious organizations. But when you lay down and when you get up, you didn't do that on your own. You didn't do that on your own. There's a force out there, and you have to recognize that force, whichever you call it. There's still a force out there, and that's between you and that force. Now, I'm a Christian. I recognize in my own way my belief system. I do that. I recognize that you may not have it, and I have no problem with it, and I recognize there are other people that have other religious expressions, and that's what is beautiful about the creation, in my opinion.
I don't think that we could live without believing in something.
You
I
have
just don't
to.
think we can.
Right.
But you see in me as being a non-believer. How do you?
I never said that. I never said that.
But you said you don't know whether I am or not. But we may both be believers. But and the respect that you were talking about, you must earn it.
Exactly.
You must demonstrate that you're for people, not for thyself.
Right.
You're for people.
And
There are many people who demonstrate day in and day out that they are suffering mentally, they're suffering physically, emotionally, all of that stuff, and we do nothing. We turn our backs on them. And
with that, unfortunately, we have to bring this great conversation to a close. But I want to thank our millions of viewers and our technical staff and our very learned panel. This is Ronald Barry Robinson and friends saying, for the In My Opinion show. Until next time, stay focused.